Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another edition of the Sports Wrap with Michael Kravetz. It's been a few weeks since I was last on recording my show. A lot has happened since then. I believe the last time that I had a show, the Penguins were down in the Eastern Conference Final, 1-0. Really didn't think much of it. I thought that Tuukka Rask had his best game of the playoffs. I didn't think he was going to play that much better the rest of the way. Well, it turned out I was dead wrong because the Penguins were swept by the Boston Bruins 4-0 in the Eastern Conference Final. Lost the first game 3-0, the second one 6-1, the third game in double overtime 2-1, and then game 4 they lose 1-0 in Boston. And really the whole series, Penguins only 2 goals on 136 shots. They hit a lot of posts, had a lot of bad bounces that didn't go their way. But Rask made a lot of great saves in this series. Definitely played an MVP-type performance in the series. And the superstars for the Penguins just did not show up. Their offense did not show up as a whole. Iginla, no points. Letang, no points. Malkin, Crosby, Neal, no points. It was just a bad series overall because you thought that with the two best players in the world, they're going to find a way to overcome a poor start in offense in this series. Adjustments were not made early on enough in the series. Dan Bylsma did insert new players into the lineup when they went on the road to Boston, but they just could not find a way to get a puck behind Rask in the final game, and they did not find a way to get at least a few behind him in Game 3. And that was the most disappointing thing for me. Unfortunately, I was not able to see a few of the games in this series, but after watching them, recording them and watching them, you didn't feel that their offense was in a good enough flow. The power play went 0 for 15. The penalty kill, though, did a superb job. Boston did not score a power play goal, and that's pretty rare that you see a team perfect on the penalty kill when getting swept in a series, but that just goes to show you that the special teams was not, at least on the penalty kill side, did not really have that big of an importance. It was the power play with the Penguins not scoring anything. And for the Penguins PK to play masterful and still not find a way to win a game in the series is just kind of astounding. But when your offense can't do anything, you're not going to find a way to score. And that was pretty much the thing. This Penguin team, I remember saying it late in the season, in these playoffs, that the Penguins had a high-powered offense. It was a matter as if they were going to be able to win these low-scoring, rugged-type playoff prototypical games, 2-1 scores, 3-2 scores, and they just could not find a way to win those against Boston. The defense, they had their moments where they were playing pretty well in the series, but there were a lot of bad moments, especially with Chris Letang, a -7 in this series, had multiple turnovers each game. Douglas Murray, who probably was their best defenseman, but that's not saying a whole lot because the whole defense was poor in general. Orpik did not have a good series. Eaton did not play well, and neither did Paul Martin. I was a little surprised to see Bylsma not go to maybe Bortuzzo or Dupre at all in this series, but that's something I'll mention later on in the show. But it was just disappointing overall. Didn't expect them to get swept. This is the first time since I've been following the Penguins that they were ever swept in the playoffs in a 4-game series. It was the first time since 1979 that this happened. But Boston's in the Stanley Cup Final now, and the questions leading up to their elimination, after the elimination, were what's going to happen to Dan Bylsma, and what will happen to the rest of his coaching staff, and what are they going to do with Marc-Andre Fleury? Because Tomas Vokoun, they brought Fleury in this Game 2 when they were down 3-0, but he ended up letting 3 goals the rest of the game. Vokoun started Games 3 and 4 and played well. Well, it was addressed Wednesday by Ray Shero when he had his press conference where the media got to ask him a lot of questions. One of the first things he said, we're going to keep Dan Bylsma, we're going to give him a 2-year contract extension, so now he has 3 years left here in Pittsburgh, and pretty much it's, if he doesn't win a cup, I think Shero's head's on the line and he'll be fired too. The whole coaching staff will be retained. Todd Reardon, Tony Granato, goaltending coach Gil Malash will be pretty much, he resigned his position. He's going to be a special coordinator for the team. But I was not surprised because if you think about it, if they're not going to have a plan in place, a lot of people are saying, oh, John Tortorella. There's no way his style would have fit this Penguin team because it looks like they're going to not lose, at least keep the same kind of roster intact. There were no other coaches out there that I thought would have a better chance with this team of taking them to a Stanley Cup final than Dan Bylsma. Remember, he's the fastest coach in NHL history to reach 200 wins. I know he hasn't had much success recently in the playoffs, but he's a good coach. The players really like playing for him, and they're not going to say bad things about him or quit on him. So that's something you want. Mario Lemieux, Ron Burkle backed up Shiro 100%. Now the question becomes, Shiro has to, I guess, find a way to make this roster work for next year and the years to come, the next few years. Bylsma, if he can take this team to a Stanley Cup final and then win one in the next few years, I think it's safe to say he'll even be here for the long haul. But if it does not happen, if they lose in the first round the next couple years, lose in the second or third round, I think it's safe to say Bylsma and Shiro will both be fired. Now the question becomes, which of the players will the Penguins keep who are soon to become free agents? Well, they wanted to work on a deal with Malkin because his contract was up next year. They got him to sign an 8-year deal worth $76 million, kind of around the same ballpark as Crosby. Malkin will be making more next year, but Crosby will be making more overall. Now it'll just be, they said they're going to try to work with a contract extension on Chris Letang. His contract expires next year. And my feeling is that if they don't get a deal done by the regular season, at least the midway point, safe to say they're probably going to try to trade him, see what they can get for him. The other free agents, Pascal Dupuis, Matt Cook, Jerome McGinley, Brendan Morrow, Douglas Murray. Quite a bit there. I don't think Murray will be back. I don't think Morrow will be back. Matt Cook, I don't think a lot of teams out there would want him because I know a lot of the teams' front offices don't like him. So I think Penguins will be able to sign him for a lower amount. And Pascal Dupuis, he's just gotten better with age, but he'll have to take a discount if he wants to stay here because there's going to be a lot of teams out there that are probably going to pay him a way more hefty amount than the Penguins will. So it's just a matter of if he will take the less amount to stay with the team. Finally, Jerome McGinley. Of all those guys that they got, Jokinen will still be under contract next year. McGinley, I think he knows that this is probably, even though you can say a lot of teams have a chance to win a cup, but this team, he knew there was something special this year. They couldn't get it done. I think he feels that he might be able to have a better outcome on the team if he stays another year. I think he'll sign for less, and I think he'll stay with the Penguins. And hopefully, if the front office and Bylsma gets their head on straight, they're going to think about pairing him with Crosby the entire year because I think those two would be very special on a line. And as far as the other players, Tyler Kennedy, I don't think will be back. Dustin Jeffrey won't be back. I think it's time for... I don't think Mark Eaton will be back either. So if you bring Robert Bortuzzo or Simone Dupre, let them play a lot next season. Bo Bennett can be a top 6 forward. And I think you're going to have yourself a pretty successful team. I think their offense will still be high-powered. It's just a matter of getting their defense to play better. And the special teams has just been stout this past year, and I think it will be next year too. And as far as the goaltending situation goes, there are a lot of rumors out there saying that Ryan Miller, the Penguins might try to offer him like a low contract to sign. Tomas Vokoun under contract for next year, and Marc-Andre Fleury, Bylsma said he's their number one guy. They want to try and change some of his routines over the offseason to get him doing some different workouts. I have a feeling he still could be an elite goaltender. He's had his struggles in the playoffs, everyone knows that. But in the regular season, he has been top-notch, one of the top 5 in mostly all the goaltending stats in the league over the past 2 years. And he just has to find a way to get his head on straight for the playoffs and not have those shaky performances in must-win games. So if you look at this, I think this team, there's going to definitely be a lot of moves coming forward that you're going to have to look out for during the offseason. Free agency starts July 5th. It's definitely going to be a fun offseason, to say the least, for the NHL, especially the Pittsburgh Penguins. So we'll have to look forward to that. And if I had to give them a grade overall, I know a lot of people, a lot of analysts, were giving them maybe like a C, a C minus. I would give them a B plus. They made it to the Eastern Conference Final 4 teams. I know the goal was to make it to the Stanley Cup Final, possibly win it. I know they had a team this year where they thought they're not going to keep everyone again. This is a once-in-a-lifetime team. It's just disappointing that they got swept by the Bruins. They would at least won a few more games and made it competitive. But if you look at it, Rask played a heck of a series. Vokoun played a heck of a series, which is because the offense couldn't find a way to score. And with those types of players, that would happen once in a blue moon. If they try and keep most of the players they have for next year, I would not expect them to get swept again in any round of the playoffs. So I would give them a B+. But it was a great regular season for the Penguins. Who could forget that 15-game winning streak? A good first 2 rounds in the playoffs after getting a scare from the Islanders, taking care of the Senators, and just disappointment against the Bruins. But overall, I thought it was a good season, really enjoyed it, and we're going to look forward now to next season, where the Penguins will try and make it past the Eastern Conference Final for the first time since 2009 and make it to the way to their 3rd Stanley Cup in 6 years. And now we're going to move it on to some Pirate talk. Had a lot of debuts. Gerrit Cole, the number 1 pick in 2011, made his debut last Tuesday against the former defending champs, San Francisco Giants, going up against Tim Lincecum. And in the game, Cole was pretty shaky in the first inning, gave up a few hits, did not allow a run though. The offense backed him up in this game. They beat the Giants 8-2. Cole went 6 1/3. Had about 5 strikeouts, had dominant pitches where he threw 99, almost hit 100 on a few, and it was really just a stellar debut for Cole, and that's something you really wanted to see from your number 1 pick a few years back. Yesterday, against the Dodgers, Brandon Compton made his debut. He was a 9th round pick from the 2010 draft, and I was not really expecting a whole lot. I mean, he was going opposite former Cy Young winner Clayton Kershaw, and the Pirates have always had a tough time against him, so I just thought, they're probably going to lose the game, but as long as it's close. Well, Compton pitched a lot better than I thought he would. Struck out 5 of his first 6 batters. He went 5 1/3. He only gave up a few runs. When he left the game, it was 1-1. It was 2-1. Then Brian Morse came in, gave up another run. It was 3-1. And the Pirates somehow, someway, found a way to come back in this game. Travis Snyder with a solo home run in the bottom of the 9th with 1 out off Camley Jensen. Takes the game in extra innings, and they had a few chances to win the game. Bottom of the 10th, the bases were loaded with 2 outs. McHenry popped out. And then in the top of the 11th, the Dodgers had 2 runs, and they're able to get the win 5-3. But that's just something you've seen with this Pirate team this whole season. They know that they're never out of a game, and most times than not, they find a way to come back to tie it and send it into extra innings. Because right now, they've been in 7 extra inning games, 5-2 in those 7. And now, if you take a look at this team, they are 40-28 in about 3.5 or 4 games back of the St. Louis Cardinals, tied with the Cincinnati Reds. And if the season ended today, they would have the 2nd wild card playoff spot there. I think they have around a 4-game lead above the next team, which I believe are the San Francisco Giants. But this team, the offense, they've had their struggles so far early on. They've had their mini slumps, against Atlanta. But they seem to find a way to have these outbursts like they did against the Giants. 8-2 the first game, 12-8 the second game. And they're going to need that because the pitching staff right now, the rotation, very riddled with injuries. A.J. Burnett recently put on the 15-day DL due to a right calf strain. Wandy Rodriguez is still on the DL. McDonald still doing rehabilitation starts. Gomez, the same thing. Jeff Locke is the only Pirate pitcher to have not been on the disabled list this year. Charlie Morton just made his way back. His season debut was against the Giants on Thursday night. The Pirates ended up losing that game 10-0, but he showed, some good stuff. Almost a year back, dating back to his Tommy John surgery. So I think you should have expected him to have his struggles, but I think he pitched a decent game. And Liriano did not really pitch great against the Giants, but they won the game 12-8. He got the win. So the rotation, you don't know what it's going to look like in a few weeks because the viable options that they have, Compton I don't think will make it just because, it was just the spot start. You're going to have Burnett. You're going to have Wandy Rodriguez in there. You're going to have Francisco Liriano, I think, and you're going to have Jeff Locke. So then that fifth spot will be Gerrit Cole, James McDonald, Charlie Morton, Jinmar Gomez. You're going to have a lot of different makeup for this rotation. I think you're going to need at least 6 pitchers to go strong throughout the rest of the season, because you're probably going to have some bad starts. You're going to have more injuries probably. So you just want to make sure that the rotation, no one is out for the long haul where you got to put someone on the 60-day DL or whatnot. But the way the team is going, a lot of questions still. A lot of people think the rotation might suffer, might fall off. So far, it's not the case, just with injuries. The bullpen, still pitching well. They recently demoted Mike Zagurski because he was just god-awful in his time up here with the Pirates. 15 ERA in his 6 appearances. Definitely not good. Or excuse me, in his 10 appearances. Yeah, not good. I wouldn't surprise if someone picks him up off waivers so he can be off the Pirates, or if they just outright release him. They outright released Jose Contreras, and John McDonald is gone from the team. I believe Toronto, or not sure what a team picked him up, so he is no longer with the Pirates. And other problems that this team might foresee coming is at the shortstop position. Jordy Mercer is playing well. It's just a matter of if he's going to be able to stay consistent on the offensive side, which he's shown. He's had some pop lately. I did not expect that, because Barmes is not giving you anything offensively. He's starting to struggle a little bit defensively too. I expect Barmes to take a back seat now and see what Mercer can do at a full-time job at shortstop. In the outfield, Tabata's still working his way back from an injury. Snyder, he had that home run yesterday. He's been kind of spotty as of late. Garrett Jones, the same thing. Marte, they might have to put him on the disabled list if he does not come back in time for Monday's game. Presley, not a major league starter. I think he's just a good bench player. So there's still a lot of makeup for this team, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they cope if they have to deal with all these injuries, if they start to mount up even more. But, being said, the Pirates close it out today with the Dodgers. Gerrit Cole making his second start, going opposite against another former Cy Young winner in Zach Greinke. Should be a great game. Hopefully the rain does not cancel this one. But it's just going to be fun. Was not able to see most of his performance against the Giants, so definitely be looking forward to watching him pitch against the Dodgers. And then the Pirates, they have a huge 9 games coming up on the road. Huge 4-game series in Cincinnati. The Pirates swept Cincinnati the first series at PNC Park. Cincinnati then got 2-3 from them. The next series at PNC Park, first trip to Cincinnati for the Pirates this year. And it's going to be quite a series. I think it's a must that the Pirates can at least split the series. You don't want to give Cincinnati more confidence, if they were able to win 3 or 4 or even 4-game sweep them, because then they're going to feel like, okay, we got this team. We got their number. The Pirates just have to play solid. They played better on the road this year than they have in years past. They just got to get some good pitching performances and have some of those offensive outbursts that they've been getting as of late. Then they got in an interleague play, 3 on the road at LA to take on the Angels. The Angels have been struggling. They were a team that a lot of people predicted them to go to the World Series, have an MVP in Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, Josh Hamilton, but they've struggled. They're near last place in the AL West. Then the Pirates have 2 on the road in Seattle, where they haven't been in a while. So Seattle played the Pirates earlier in May. They both split the 2-game series, and so then they'll have another 2-game series in Seattle. So should be an interesting 9 games, and should tell a lot about this Pirate team and how their season will look going forward. Now I want to get into some other talk, football talk. Tim Tebow finally signed, this time by the New England Patriots. Really happy with the sign. Not a huge fan of the Patriots, but I am just a little bit more now just because they have Tim Tebow. And Bill Belichick said he will be the quarterback. Right now, he's number 3 after the Patriots released Mike Kafka. Ryan Mallett's the number 2. Brady's going to be working more on his accuracy, on his release, delivery. And they're going to use him in some other play formations as well. Could use him on the punt return. Could use him maybe to line up as a tight end or a running back. So I think him going to New England, learning some stuff under Tom Brady, being in a winning environment, I think it's definitely going to make him into a better football player and make him a better quarterback. It's a 2-year deal, no guaranteed money. I expect him to make the roster, and I think he's going to help them win. He's going to be involved in some games this year where you're going to say, okay, there's Tim Tebow, and that's why he deserves to be in the NFL. Also want to talk about the NBA Finals. Game 5 tonight in San Antonio. The series is evened up at 2. I think whoever wins tonight will win the series. I know the final 2 games are back in Miami. This series has been pretty much even. It was a close win for San Antonio in Game 1. Pretty big blowout for Miami in Game 2. Blowout win, 36-point win for San Antonio in Game 3. And then a good, hard-fought win for Miami in Game 4. So it's just going to come down to the big 3 again. Dwayne Wade performed well in Game 4. Is he going to have another performance? Chris Bosh, LeBron James? Or is it going to be, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Tim Duncan stepping up? Danny Green is having a heck of a series. Has over 60 points in the 4 games. I think it's going to be, I think this could go 7. But I know Miami's the favorite. I just think San Antonio is going to find a way to win tonight. And I think they're going to close out the series in Game 6 in Miami. So I'm predicting the Spurs to win. I said they were going to win in 6, so I'm sticking to my original prediction. And then over in the NHL Finals, both games have gone to overtime. The first one went to 3 overtimes. The Blackhawks win it. And then last night, the game goes to overtime with the Bruins winning 2-1. Been a very hard-fought series. I could see this series going to 7 games. Great goaltending play by Rask and Crawford. With the series going back to Boston, could be a trap for Chicago. They haven't really played that well on the road in these playoffs, but I just think Chicago has too much with Taves and Kane. Crawford is playing stellar at the goaltending position. I think the Blackhawks defense is playing a more physical style than the Bruins, and I just don't think the Bruins are going to have enough. I think the Blackhawks are going to win the series in 7, but hey, if every game goes to overtime, that's just going to make for some great hockey. And I also wanted to mention real quick about the draft that took place last week. The first couple picks for the Pirates in the first round, since they had the pick since Mark Appel did not sign with them. By the way, Appel was drafted number 1 by the Astros. The Pirates took, with the 9th pick, center fielder Austin Meadows out of Grayson High School in Loganville, Georgia. He batted .535 in his senior year. The analysis on him, he is a great athlete with 5-tool potential. 6'3", 200 pounds. Had an offer to go to Clemson, so it's just a matter of if he's going to sign with the Pirates. He looks like a great player. I think he would be a very good addition to the Pirates minor league system. And then with the second pick in the first round, they got catcher Reese McGuire from Kentwood High School in Covington, Washington. A .436 hitter in his last year in high school. He's a great, solid defensive catcher. 6'1", 190. He'll definitely have to build up more once he gets to the majors, but he has a long way to go. He got offered to play at San Diego. I have a feeling, though, that he would, I would bet he would sign more likely. It would be more likely for him to sign with the Pirates more than Meadows. The one thing that's good about him that is rare, that a lot of teams want to find, left-handed hitting catcher. You don't see them too often, and it could be the catcher of the future for the Pirates. But they look like really solid players. I was overall happy with the draft the Pirates had. They didn't take too many pitchers, which is something they've always done in the recent past, but a lot of good things to happen with this Pirates draft, and hopefully they're going to have some gems coming out of it. But that'll do it, though, for today's show. It was a rather short show. I will only be having 2 more episodes left, and then I will be done with the sports wrap, at least on YouTube. Hopefully switching it over to WPPJ, the radio station for Point Park. I know that the final episode, the 50th episode of the sports wrap, I will be recording on the Sunday before the All-Star break, kind of like the halfway point for the baseball season. But the next show, I'm assuming, will be sometime next week, and we'll have to get into a lot more Pirate talk, the NHL Finals, NBA Finals, any more Steeler news, and, just pretty much it's going to be a hardcore baseball show these last two shows. So be looking forward to that. But that'll do it. Signing off, I'm Michael Kravetz, and you